Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Mansing, and our top story. Governor Kenneth Mapp was scheduled to meet with President Donald Trump today on a Navy vessel near the territory. On the agenda, the governor informed that he would speak to President Trump on progressing the productivity of the Blue Roof program, particularly since there has been so much rainfall in the territory. The governor further informed that keeping the elderly and their families safe in their homes was important, especially since there weren't many other places to provide housing to individuals whose homes were affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Here's more from News 2's Stephanie Brown.
The Virgin Islands Department of Labor St. Thomas office reportedly received some damage during the hurricane season, and servers with data related to over 1,000 persons that received unemployment checks was able to be pulled, and the governor set a date for those checks to be received by the end of the week.
A difficult challenge given the condition of the post offices in the territory and the moving around of mail and the different places you've got to go to collect your mail. We're going to announce the distribution of the checks, and we'll try to do that in alphabetical sequence so you will know when to come, and that will help so we don't want you there in lines.
The governor exclaimed that he was unhappy with the slow pace of the Blue Roof program. He further informed that the contractor that received 70% of FEMA dollars that employs subcontractors with a 30% rate would not progress the productivity of tarps getting on the roofs of Virgin Islanders.
So my concern is not the relationship between the subcontractor and the main contractor. My concern is that that process is not getting covers on homes. And so I'm going to continue to push that the Army Corps of Engineers simply needs to find, and we can identify folks who have the appropriate licenses, have the equipment and the personnel that can sign contracts with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Further, on October 16th, the Virgin Islands is set to receive disaster supplemental nutrition assistance to further assist with the loss of food from Hurricane Maria.
During Irma and Maria, you would qualify for 1 month's allotment of food stamp or a D-SNAP card to be able to purchase food. And you'll get an allotment based on the number of folks in your household.
Now, we will have more information on Governor Mapp's meeting with President Donald Trump in tomorrow's newscast. Meanwhile, the Vice President is scheduled to meet on Friday on St. Croix. Counted to keep you updated. Now, last evening, Governor Mapp ordered the curfew in the St. Thomas St. John district reduced from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. and on St. Croix from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. However, he said more debris has to be cleared on St. Croix before the curfew can be shrunk any further. Well, with the arrival of AT&T's barges and the visiting technicians working with local counterparts, 3 of the 28 towers in the territory are now functional. Folks in the territory should begin to see more connectivity and more access for communicating going forward, Mapp said. Governor Mapp spoke with President of AT&T Florida, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, Joe York, last week, who indicated the telecommunications companies prepared to provide the supplies needed to assist in the restoration of service. In addition, AT&T will be issuing credits on customer bills for the period during which service was interrupted. FITEMA's director, Mona Barnes, reported that the points of distribution dispersal continues to be successful, and about 1,000 tarps were distributed on Monday. Virgin Islands renters who experienced losses due to Hurricanes Irma or Maria could be eligible for disaster recovery assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, and the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA. Renters may be eligible for grants from FEMA to help with disaster-related expenses, such as renting a home when the renter's previous one is uninhabitable due to the disaster, disaster-related medical and dental expenses, replacement or repair of necessary personal property lost or damaged in the disaster, repair or replacement of vehicles damaged by the disaster, disaster-related funeral and burial expenses. Now, these are not loans and don't have to be repaid. They are not taxable income and won't affect eligibility for Social Security, Medicaid, welfare assistance, SNAP benefits, and several other programs. Renters may qualify for a low-interest SBA loan of up to $40,000 to repair or replace personal property. The filing deadline to return applications for property damage is November 6, 2017 for Hurricane Irma and November 20th, 2017 for Hurricane Maria. For more information, you can call the SBA's Disaster Assistance Customer Service Center at 1-800-659-2955 or visit sba.gov/disaster. The first step, however, is to register for assistance with FEMA. Virgin Islanders who have not yet registered can do so online at www.disasterassistance.gov. Commissioner of Tourism Beverly Nicholson-Doty said assessments have begun of hotels and tourism-related businesses in both districts as the department focuses on the territory's readiness for visitors for the upcoming tourist season. Discussions are ongoing with cruise and airline partners, with the latter focusing on normalizing flight schedules. She also announced a visitor information center will open in Christiansted, St. Croix on Wednesday, October 4th. She reported that to date, a total of 4,500 residents and visitors have been evacuated from the U.S. Virgin Islands through the generosity of the territory's cruise and airline partners. She thanked Norwegian Cruise Lines, Royal Caribbean Cruises for their assistance in providing humanitarian relief and mercy missions from the territory. A total of 3,000 passengers have now left the territory on Mercy cruises. She also thanked Delta Airlines, United Airlines, and in particular JetBlue Airways for helping transport some 1,500 passengers by air. Commissioner Nicholson-Doty shared her deepest thanks to the Department of Tourism team and the number of volunteers who have helped with organizing the Mercy missions. Well, the Cyril Lee King Airport in St. Thomas, just a reminder, reopened for commercial flights on September 28th on a limited basis. Travelers are urged to check with their airline for flight schedules and arrive 3 to 4 hours prior to their flight times. Flights that are canceled by an airline must be rescheduled by calling the airline. The Henry E. Wilson Airport in St. Croix is closed to commercial passenger and commercial cargo flights due to damages sustained during Hurricane Maria. Cleanup and repairs are underway. VIPA tentatively plans to reopen the airport in St. Croix to commercial flights on Thursday, October 5th, 2017. Here are the airline numbers. Be sure to jot them down. American Airlines, Miami, St. Thomas, 1-800-433-7300. Cape Air, it's 1-800-352-0714. Delta, it's 1-800-221-1212. And Seabourn, 1-800-359-8687. We'll turn our attention to Las Vegas. The country mourns after that massacre in Las Vegas while law enforcement authorities look for answers. At least 59 people were killed and 527 were injured in the shooting that started at a country music festival late Sunday night. And we're learning more about the man police believe perpetrated that massacre and more about the people affected. Kristen Holmes is in Las Vegas with more.
Authorities learning more about the man who committed the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history, firing into a crowd of thousands from a hotel room high above a country music festival.
He was a sick man, a demented man, a lot of problems, I guess, and we're looking into him very, very seriously, but we're dealing with a very, very sick individual.
Police believe Stephen Paddock killed himself before they could enter his room, ending the massacre. Police finding at least 19 firearms, explosives, several thousand rounds of ammunition in his home in Mesquite, Nevada. And in his room in the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, they found 23 weapons, including a handgun and multiple rifles, and several pounds of ammonium nitrate, a material used to make explosives in his car. After the massacre, people lining up to give blood. Lights dimmed on the Vegas Strip after the tragedy, and across the country, vigils were held for those killed and injured in the attack, while victims recounted their stories of survival.
Then we saw people starting to run. So that's when I grabbed my wife, and we started to run, and then we realized we weren't with him.
Like I said, I was with my aunt as well. I turned around and I found her, and I'll never forget the look in her eyes. It was the look of, are we about to die? Is this it?
President Donald Trump reacted to that. Meanwhile, President Trump was on the ground in Puerto Rico earlier today, as we reported, touting the federal response as he visited the storm-ravaged island for the first time. But nearly 2 weeks after the devastating strike by Hurricane Maria, many, especially in remote areas, are still struggling without food, water, or power. Puerto Rico's Governor Ricardo Rosselló is hoping the president's visit will lead to an increase in federal aid. The focus now for Puerto Ricans is working together towards recovery. We have much more straight ahead. Taking a look at the eye on the economy. Here are the numbers there for you. According to the numbers there, we can see the Dow up 84, NASDAQ 15, S&P 500 up 5. Coming up on News 2, feeling a little stressed and would like some information on where to turn to for help. The Department of Health has some information that's coming up next. Also, we have a WAPA restoration update. All of that. Stick around. Welcome back. Restoration efforts continue for the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority. WAPA's offices, their telephones are functional in both districts. St. Croix, that number is 340-773-2250. St. Thomas, St. John, it's 340-774-3552. Customer service hours on St. Croix remain from 12 noon to 3:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. The resumption of customer service hours on St. Thomas, St. John at WAPA's Port of Sale offices in Havenside is expected this week. Here's John Grillo with an update.
Restoration crews worked Monday on St. Croix at locations that included Frederickstead Town, Estate Richmond, La Grande Princesse, the LBJ Housing Community, Golden Rock, Hannes Rest, Estates Campo Rico and Wim, and the Industrial Park. Crews continued to work on replacing poles on Feeder 6A from the Richmond Power Plant to Five Corners and on Feeder 8B from Hannes Rest to Frederickstead. The underground sections of Feeder 1A in downtown Christiansted were fully energized over the weekend. On St. Thomas, crews completed the installation of replacement poles to the University of the Virgin Islands' St. Thomas campus on Feeder 6A, as well as to Peterborough on Feeder 8B. WAPA and its contractors are working to energize sections of Feeder 8A and 8B this week. Over the weekend, crews completed repairs and energized the Ron DeLugo Federal Building, as well as the Alexander Farrelly Justice Center, the Professional Building, and the Legislature's Capitol Building, as well as highway lighting along the waterfront and portions of Harwood Highway. Crews on St. John continue to work in the Cruz Bay area, planting replacement poles from the roundabout towards the Myra Keating Smith Community Health Clinic. Emergency centers on St. Thomas and St. Croix are operating daily on a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule. The call centers are the primary means by which customers can advise the authority of isolated service interruptions once crews have carried out restoration work. The call centers' operating hours will be adjusted as restoration into neighborhoods and communities take shape.
Most U.S.VI seaports are open, but vessels may only operate during daylight hours. That's per the U.S. Coast Guard instructions. Inter-island ferry and barge services are operating. The following is a port condition update from the Coast Guard. Open East and West Gregory Channel, St. Thomas, Charlotte and St. Thomas, and Frederickstead, St. Croix, Lime Tree Bay, St. Croix, Cruz Bay, St. John. Open with restrictions, daylight transit only, Cross Lagoon, St. Croix. The QE ferry, which travels between St. Thomas and St. Croix, is dependent on the Gallows Bay port's reopening, and we'll have an update on that for you. As VIA continues restoration efforts, we shared a message from CEO Alvaro Pilar in English. Now we share the same message for the Spanish-speaking community. Here's an update from VIA.
Buenas tardes, aquí compañeros de Islas Vírgenes. Estamos desde el centro de comando de Valla desde San Tomás para decirles en qué ha estado pasando hasta ahora. Como han visto, hemos estado trabajando con Guapa para ir energizando las diferentes partes de nuestra red y poco a poco tenemos que ir trabajando con ellos. Parte de lo que hemos hecho mientras tanto es poner todos estos hotspots Wi-Fi desde San John hasta Santa Cruz para que ustedes se puedan comunicar. Cualquier tipo de teléfono, no hace falta password, puede ir cualquier persona con su teléfono o su computadora y conectarse. Pueden hacer FaceTime, pueden hacer WhatsApp, todo lo que ustedes quieran a través del celular dentro de esos hotspots. En San John tenemos en Pastori y en Cruz Bay. En San Tomás tenemos en todas partes del aeropuerto hasta el East End de la isla, incluyendo Red Hook, Heavenside, Tutu Park, Newscast Center, GRS, donde está el parque de pelota. En cualquiera de ellos puede ir. En Santa Cruz tenemos en los dos plazas, Plaza Extra West y Plaza Extra East. Y en adición a eso, también vamos a tener en Baitima, Government House y Gallows Bay. Así que en todas las islas lo estamos cubriendo. Además de eso, estamos energizando una red celular que estábamos creando para final de este año, que es una red completamente nueva LTE. Lo que hicimos fue adelantar todo el proceso. Vamos a tener eventualmente 45 sites, pero por ahora vamos a encender unos 32. Todo eso va a pasar el lunes que viene y ustedes van a poder pasar por nuestras tiendas, van allí, recogen uno de los celulares que tendremos para que puedan hablar en toda la isla. Si tienen problemas en la casa o en el negocio, no tiene nada que ver con la batería. El problema es que todos los postes se han caído y al caerse los postes se pierden las comunicaciones. Por lo tanto, lo único que ustedes tienen que hacer es pasan por una de nuestras tiendas y allí nosotros le haremos el programita para que el teléfono de la casa le suene a su celular nuevo. Cogen el celular nuevo de Valla, que es Ericsson, va a tener la mejor cobertura de todas las islas y ustedes van a poder recibir todas sus llamadas. Y saben que aquí estamos 400 personas trabajando por ustedes, de las Islas Vírgenes para las Islas Vírgenes. Muchas gracias.
Now be sure to log on to our News2 Facebook page for the English version of this message we shared earlier last week. Health Commissioner Dr. Michelle Davis reported that an additional mental health team had arrived in the territory to provide services on St. Thomas and St. Croix on Monday. The Association of Virgin Islands Psychologists has also conducted counseling, while federal behavioral mental health teams have been visiting shelters throughout the territory to provide mental health services. There is one team per island, she says, comprising psychologists, social workers, and a psychiatrist. They'll be available for anyone who wants to see them. Commissioner Davis said, adding that the federal teams will continue to provide this support all week long. Arrangements are also being made for the cabinet and their staff members who want to avail themselves of these services. The Department of Health provides individual and family counseling as well. She advised the residents to call 340-718-1311, extension 3638 or 3648. She reminded the public that anyone experiencing psychological distress as a result of the hurricanes can call the Disaster Distress Helpline. That number is 1-800-985-5990. Banco Popular shared the list of branches that are currently operating on St. Croix. It's at the Orange Grove branch, and they're operating from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and the Sunny Isles branch from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. On St. Thomas, right there at the main branch, from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Over in Tortola, BVI, the Tortola branch is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They remind you that you may make your transactions through My Banco Online and My Banco Mobile. For commercial transactions, you may use Commercial Web Cash Manager. Virgin Islands Air, Nose and Throat, they're happy to report that the St. Thomas Paragon Medical Building roof should be patched. And Dr. Adam Shapiro is planning on seeing patients on a limited basis this week, beginning Wednesday, October 4th. St. Thomas hours on Wednesday are from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, October 5th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Friday, October 6th, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Please call 340-642-9227 to schedule an appointment. Now, Dr. Gasson will be in the St. Croix office, which will remain open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. If the generator is operational, they say, they are working as quickly as possible to return to the pre-hurricane status. Well, looking at our neighbors over at the BVI, there was a live town hall meeting that was held last evening on social media and radio with the premier of the BVI, Orlando. He said that thanks to partners at the CIBC, the First Caribbean, for their generous donation of $100,000 went towards the government's rebuilding and recovery efforts. He said one of the major announcements and noteworthy symbol of restoration is the resumption of commercial flight operations at the Terrence B. Lettsome International Airport on Monday, October 2nd. He said this is an important step in returning the territory to its pre-Irma state and is a reflection of the level of work and dedication by the BVI Airports Authority, along with military personnel and others who worked to rectify issues caused by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. He said they look forward to welcoming home Virgin Islanders who would like to assist with the recovery efforts, as well as residents and skilled workers. He said initial calculations show that approximately 22.5% of the territory's population has been displaced. He's asking property owners and landlords to take advantage of opportunities such as the loan reprieves by the territory's banks, the waiving of customs duties for rebuilding supplies, and the relaxed labor and immigration policies to contract skilled laborers to jumpstart the rebuilding process and secure housing for residents. Meanwhile, electrical supply has been restored on Virgin Gorda. Stick around, we have much more straight ahead. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast comes your way next.
Things are pretty quiet right now. We do have just some brief showers here and there. Today was gorgeous. Tonight it's going to be nice as well. Taking a look at our satellite, we don't see much going on today, but there is a tropical wave heading in our direction, and that's going to reach us by Thursday. Thursday and Friday, they're going to be the wettest days of the week. We could see some downpours and a more steady rain pattern with showers more frequently than not throughout the day. Saturday and Sunday, still we're going to see some more showers, but it's not going to be as wet, and we will have some improvement. So keep your eye on that for the end of the week. That's when the wet weather moves in. For tonight, 78 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, 87 degrees with, again, a brief shower or two in St. John. In St. Thomas, same story, 87 degrees with a shower or two, and St. Croix, a shower or two possible, 87 degrees. The Atlantic side, right now we don't have any advisories, but as that tropical wave moves in, we could see some advisories develop, so keep your eye on that. For the waves, 2 to 4 feet tonight, and the winds east around 10 knots. And for the Caribbean side, 2 to 4 feet, and the winds out of the east around 5 to 10 knots. Taking a look at the next couple of days, just a brief shower or two, and then showers in places. And that's going to continue for a couple of days. Of course, as the days go on, the showers are going to decrease. And by Sunday, we'll have more sunshine than we do clouds and wet weather. Temperatures staying warm in the upper 80s all week long. Back to you.
Thanks for that. It's time for a News 2 Weather picture there by Destiny King, 7th grader representing the Niski Moravian School, sharing some sunshine, some clouds, and a rainbow. Destiny, thank you for that positive outlook there. Send us your News 2 Weather picture to the address right on the screen, and then tune in to see it right here on News 2. That is all for this edition. We'd like to thank you for joining us. I'm Sandra Guman Singh. We'll see you next time.